Hi everyone, today's topic is the pulmonary auscultation examination findings. We'll see what we hear on auscultation, what we observe on percussion, tactile firmitus, and mediastinal shift, and what are the easy ways to remember them. I'll talk about the normal conditions first, then consolidations, pleural effusions, pneumothorax, emphysema, and atelectasis. So let's get started. Now, there are 4 parameters by which we can see what is wrong with the patient's lungs. So I want you to remember this as the same as we remember it for the heart. That's APTM. For those of you who don't know the mnemonic APTM for the heart, the 4 places we want to check for the valves of the heart is A for aortic valve, P for pulmonic valve, T for tricuspid valve, and M for mitral valve. And just remember APTM for your pulmonary system also. So APTM stands for auscultation, percussion, tactile firmitus, and mediastinal shift. Let's see what we get in a normal chest. In the normal chest, the auscultations heard are usually bronchovesicular near the hilum. Now basically, if this is the bronchus and these are the lungs, so here we will hear bronchovesicular sounds. This is the hilum, and vesicular sounds are heard in the periphery. We'll hear a resonant note on the percussion. Now imagine percussion as being a percussion instrument like a drum, and the drum has a membrane which has air beneath it. So anything which has air, like in a normal lung, it will be resonant. The third parameter is the tactile firmitus, which will be normal, and there is no mediastinal shift. Now our first condition is consolidation, seen in lobar pneumonia. Now consolidation is solid. The lung has become a solid organ. What do we hear in the auscultation? First of all, the auscultations would be increased. Bronchial auscultations, bronchial sounds would be increased. Bronchophony, and egophony would be present. Now bronchophony is just that if you tell the patient to pronounce 99 and you hear it with the stethoscope while auscultating, you'll hear it much better on the area which is consolidated. Egophony is when you tell the patient to say the word E, and while you're auscultating on the area which is consolidated, you will hear A. So when you tell the patient E, you will hear A. So that's egophony. Percussion, there would be dullness. Tactile firmitus would be increased at the consolidation site, and there will be no mediastinal shift. Now, a very important point to remember over here is that the tactile firmitus and the auscultation are never discordant. That means if the auscultation is if you hear bronchial sounds over here, you'll see bronchial sounds increased or normal in the tactile firmitus. If there will be auscultation, if there is absent or auscultation sounds are decreased in a condition which we'll discuss below, there will be decreased tactile firmitus. So there is never a discordance between auscultation and a tactile firmitus. Moving on to pleural effusion. Now this is, in simple language, liquid in the lung, and that too in the pleural space. So liquids, when you auscultate, the auscultation would have decreased sounds. So naturally the tactile firmitus would be decreased. They are poor conductors of sound, so there will be dullness. and mediastinal shift would be away from the effusion if large. So this was the only liquid that we'll discuss. Moving on to gases. Pneumothorax, which is a gas, the sounds would be decreased or absent. Naturally, the tactile primitus would also be decreased. Now, because this is a gas, the percussion would be hyperresonant. Tactile primitus and percussion can be confusing sometimes. Remember percussion as the instrument, as I've already mentioned, and tactile primitus as the vibration. Mediastinum will, in pneumothorax, will be away if it is a tension pneumothorax. Moving on to the fourth condition, which is emphysema. So the auscultation would be decreased because this is a gas. The percussion would be hyperresonant. The auscultation and the tactile primitus are the same, so tactile primitus would be decreased in emphysema, and emphysema is a type of a COPD, so there will be no mediastinal shift. The last condition is atelectasis. Atelectasis has many reasons. Mucus plugging is one of the important reasons, where we see there's a collapse of the lung, and if there's a collapse of the lung, the auscultation would be decreased or absent. You won't hear the lung if it's not there. The percussion, we'll hear a dull note. Dullness would be there. The tactile primitus would be decreased. And because the lung has literally collapsed on itself, it pulls the mediastinum to its side. So the mediastinal shift would be towards the affected side. This was pulmonary auscultation examination findings. Hope you learned something from this video. Thank you.